that essential oils are not just for fragrance. They've
No.
been
No.
misused and abused for their fragrant
Hmm.
properties,
Yep.
but their therapeutic value really resides in those constituents that make them
Hmm.
medicine, like the
Yes.
ketones, the aldehydes, and the
Yep.
actual chemical bonds that these plant medicines offer.
Hmm. Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
don't work
Yeah.
personally with a lot of essential oils
Okay.
as a massage therapist, and a lot of the
Hmm.
structural work that I do, even in a lot of the Ayurvedic body work that I do, my essential oil usage is like five.
Okay.
Just
Yep.
my basic five, my power five, and
Yep.
I wrote a little ebook guide to those five essential oils. So anyone watching, listening to
Oh,
this, if
nice.
anyone wants a copy of that,
Yep.
just drop me an email or contact me
Yep.
on the homepage,
Good. Good.
rasayana.com, and I'll send out that ebook to anyone who wants to see it. But it's really just a guide to these power five that I use, which are
Yeah.
rosemary and clove and peppermint and rose and lavender.
Yes.
That's my powerhouse. That's
Yeah.
it. Maybe some eucalyptus, a little lemon here
Yep.
and there.
Yep.
But that's about all I use
Okay.
in
Yep.
my personal practice, both with the manual body work I do with my clients and with the aromatic use and
Yep.
vapors and inhalation diffuser kind of approach I use in my home and in my vehicle.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and I think I'm just, fascinated. I'd love to know how other healers
Yeah.
use essential oils, how to responsibly source them, what
Hmm.
constitutes therapeutic grade when you look at the
Yep.
labels,
Yep.
and what is a simple guide to
Yeah.
starting with essential oils. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you for joining us, everybody listening. Heather Small of
Yay.
Metta Wellness is
Yay.
joining us today. Master herbalist, Ayurvedic practitioner, talented body worker and healer. I've had the pleasure and
Oh.
honor of being on her table and experiencing her hands. And I invited her to join us today to talk about how I use
Hmm.
essential oils as part of our daily lives, our dinacharya, our routine
Hmm.
ritual in our daily healing habits. So welcome,
Yeah.
Heather. Tell
Oh,
us a
thank
little bit.
you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. We were just talking a bit
Ah.
about those kinds of things, and take it away. I'll let
Yeah, absolutely.
you.
Absolutely. So for me, the essential oils, I use them a lot, and we'll go through that a little bit. But I actually studied herbalism, and that's where I started working with the essential oils. And I found that it was a really nice way to add in for clients, for friends, for family. But for me, it started at home in general. I think I've shared in the past with Chris that I've had some medical conditions, and so I've always used herbs as my go-to and always worked with my dinacharya because lifestyle is so important. Waking up at certain times and going to bed and all of that. So herbs were a big part of that. And when I can't get to the herbs for teas or for oils, essential oils are a quick fix and they'll bring what I need very quickly. And so I use them a lot for calming the system. I just had surgery in April, and I've used it on and around my scar to help calm the body, to help calm those tissues. And the smells that I'm using, I know which ones work for my body. And that's really important right there, is to start to know which ones are key for you. For me, it's sandalwood. Sandalwood is and I've started shifting to vetiver, which are really grounding. I have a lot of vata and pitta going on, and I'm a person who's bouncing all over the place. So I use those oils to really settle me down and also to heal the body and to heal the scar tissue and go from there. So I use them a lot. I work a lot with clients with cancer. So I use essential oils working with some of the scarring. And so that's really my go-to for it. And I just,
Essential oils help repair scar tissue, break up
yes.
scar tissue.
So when we work with a client who has cancer, they're coming in while they're going through their chemo usually,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to work in that area to help calm down the stress and tension. So for an example, I have a client who has throat cancer. And so this whole area, they had the scar across here, and we work all the muscle attachments with the essential oils to really calm. And the essential oil is not only going to help with this, with the tissues themselves, to calm the area, but the aroma is going to also bring in that olfactory nerve and start to really calm the whole system down. So
Yeah,
there's,
right. The nose is the doorway to the brain, right? To consciousness.
yes,
The yogis say the nose is a doorway to consciousness, and a
absolutely,
lot of Vedic treatments
absolutely.
involve the orifice of the nose
Yes,
to deliver medicine to the brain.
exactly. We
Lots
open
of
up that
snuff
nose.
powders and
Yes.
matcha oils
And
and
we
ghee.
go right into the pituitary because we're hitting that pituitary when we go through the sinus. So just by using those essential oils, we're opening up the pituitary gland and we're starting to do the work on that direction. I do not use any essential oils internally for myself.
Right.
Don't do a suggestion for my clients. I know there are a lot of companies that do. I do not. I only
Do
work
not either.
externally. Yeah. And that's a lot to do with, for myself, like I said, with having some medical things you don't know. So
Mhm.
you're better off using them externally. And that's, for me, I think of full safety.
I
Um,
completely agree. I feel like because of the popularity of essential oils,
mhm.
and much like a lot of other things that become popular here and in the world, the manufacturing and production of them become more in more demand. And
Yes.
so the processes to generate these to meet that demand is what is the compromise. And
Right.
you
Right.
really don't know what you're taking, especially if you're ingesting an essential
Hmm.
oil, which I do not advise.
Right.
You know that you really don't know what you're ingesting. There's so much junk
Exactly.
out there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, but
And that's where you take a little time and do some research with your companies. And I mean, I have a couple of companies that I do work with that I've looked into the research, and the companies that are really going to be a higher quality will tell you where they're sourcing from. But the big key with essential oils is that it's really such a high concentrate. So when you're using an herb, if you go and make a cup of tea, you're putting the leaves in it and there's your concentrate. It's a few leaves. When you're using an essential oil, it's concentrated down so many times that it's much more volatile. So if you put it even onto the skin, you want to use it in a carrier. And we'll talk about that when we start talking about the different ways of using it. But what I thought we would do is take a moment and do a little meditation. Okay. So for everyone at home, try to, if you have an essential oil, use something that's very soft and light. So maybe you want to use a lavender or a vetiver or a frankincense as your grounding. Okay. And grounding is really going to just help you kind of settle in and calm. What do you have there, my dear?
I'm pulling out a lang lang. Is that a good
Oh, that
company?
is a wonderful one. Yes, yes.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Someone recently told me that this is not found in nature, but that this is some kind of
Like a blend.
synthesized version. But
I don't,
I
that
haven't
I know of that
heard of
it's not.
that. I mean,
Yeah,
I see the plant as Cannanoa
yeah,
odorata as
yeah,
the species and genus. So
yep.
I was just curious if you had.
Yeah, no, from what I understand that it is a plant, and it's extracted from a plant. And I know it's a really good one for balancing emotions, which is really nice, especially when you're going to settle into a meditation. Because as we know, those emotions can sometimes come up. So it's a very nice one for balancing that out. And then also now you have your calming one. Now pick up an oil that's an uplifting. So whether you want to grab a peppermint or an orange, I personally go to peppermint and I actually don't even need to put it on. I just open the bottle and it's enough. So, and
Yeah,
since you
I have some
grabbed that one,
peppermint right
I'm
here.
going to lavender since you grabbed lavender. And then I'm gonna grab grapefruit for my uplift.
Okay, I
And
think I'm gonna do.
I love the citrus blends for uplifting.
That's what I'm saying.
So yeah, they're citruses are really great for any issues coming in through depression. It's a really good one for uplifting the spirit. And I find that a lot of my clients that I work with, if they're dealing with stress, depression has a tendency to come in. And we're not talking about a full grade clinical depression. We're talking about maybe you don't want to get up out of bed for a few days, or you're feeling a little sluggish. Grapefruit's wonderful. It brings that mood back up, gets us feeling good and ready to move. It's a really good wake up essential oil. So, so let's get ourselves settled in and started then. What you're going to want to do is take your softer one. So you picked a ling lang, a ling lang.
Yeah.
And I got, like I said, I've got a lavender here. So go ahead and grab that, open those up, and just put a little drop onto your wrist point. Or you
Direct,
can,
neat, just right
yeah,
on it.
just a tiny drop. We're not going to play with a whole lot of it. Um, and if you're more sensitive, just open the bottle and sniff. Okay. So after you've done that, go ahead and take your wrists, rub them together, take a nice inhale. Don't allow it to touch the face, just back enough, and really bring that breath in. And once you've done that, go ahead and let your arms rest, keeping the eyes closed. We're going to start to settle into a space, really making sure you're bringing a nice inhale and exhale. Remembering our breath is our life force. So a nice inhale and exhale. On that inhale, allowing yourself to relax, allowing that breath to just slowly wash over the body. And the exhale, just let everything melt away. Inhale in, bringing in all a gentle, positive, bringing in light, calm, and exhaling out, allowing anything to just kind of slough off, letting it go, allowing it to just gently move away. Giving yourself a few minutes in that breath. And with each breath, you'll feel the body start to relax. If you need to adjust, if you need to shift, at any time, allow yourself to shift and adjust. Always checking in that you're comfortable, breathing calm. Taking in that next inhale, allow the breath to come through the body and check in. Are there any areas of the body that need extra attention? Are you feeling a little tension, a little tight in the neck or the shoulders, a little stress, a little overwhelmed? And check in with that area. And each inhale, check in with the body. On each exhale, allow that area to soften just a little bit more. You'll start to feel the hips settling in. You'll feel the back relax. You'll feel the shoulders start to come down. The neck to stretch and open. You'll feel the muscles in the head and the jaw soften. You'll feel the muscles all the way up into the crown start to relax, calm, come into a soft space. And again, on this next inhale, check throughout the whole body, starting with the feet. Go up from the feet to the hips, to the chest, the shoulders, to the neck, to the crown. Releasing any tension, any stress, any holding patterns. Allow them to just let go. And on this next inhale, we're going to start to come back into our space. Slowly, on that inhale, open your eyes. And on the exhale, close your eyes again. And go ahead and exhale, close. And on the next inhale, open your eyes, slowly coming back into the space. And exhale, closing one more time. And on your next inhale, allow yourself to open your eyes and come back into the space. And kind of sit quietly for a minute. Notice the body. Notice areas that you felt and areas that you needed to let go that may still be holding. And give them an extra moment to just let go. And when you're ready, you can take your energy blend of oil and take a nice smell. And take that inhale. Ah, yeah. So with that, you sit back and relax, and I'm going to walk you through how I work with essential oils as we sit and rest in. All right? Okay. So, so that's how we can use essential oils right off from there. It's a great way to start with for stress. It's a great way to work with inflammation. And inflammation and stress are so interconnected. Stress can cause the inflammation, and inflammation causes stress. Which one comes first? It's not always the main goal at the beginning, and maybe we'll work on later. So that's a good way to kind of settle in when we're feeling very stressed and overwhelmed. Taking a few minutes. That was a 5-minute meditation. And the oils can make it feel like it's 20 minutes. And we'll be awake and alert. And having that active essential oil at the end, even if we're just taking a nice inhale to come back to our space. Okay? So we can go ahead and start with those slides.
Okay.
So I set up some slides to kind of help everybody as we kind of go through here. And now, can I move them from here, or we need to move them from you?
I believe not. I will.
Okay. All right.
Let me know.
That's okay. So go ahead and go to the second one. This just kind of lets you know who I am. And so this one here will give you a little bit better understanding of what the guided meditation can do for you. I do a lot of guided meditation with my clients, and a lot of times we'll start with the essential oils on the feet. The feet have a tendency that the feet are going to pull everything up the body, and they're one of our largest openers, actually. So I don't put the essential oils on neat, and we'll get into that as we walk along. But it can help really calm the body and help with the inflammation. It really can be great if we add it into our wellness routine, because over time, the meditation is going to build on our immune system, and it's going to help us to be able to react easier. And it also gives us an anchoring. I'm really big on connecting with our true self and getting really back to who we really are and living in our truth. And so using those essential oils at the start to settle in, and then at the end to bring us back into our space. And we'll have this available for, I think we're going to have this available for everybody. Okay. All right. So we can go ahead and go into the next. So, yep. All right. So for me, when I start to work with a client with stress and inflammation, and I bring in my essential oils, I'd like to start to get a little base of where the inflammation and stress is coming from. So are we dealing with lack of self-care? And that can be, I'm guilty of this one. You know, I'm at home, my other half works a lot of hours. I'm making sure his lunch is packed and I'm taking care of all the tasks that need to be done at home. And then I'm working for myself and running a business and all those, we all have it, kids and all of that. And we see a lot now, especially with kids not going back to school, homeschooling, all of those good things. So self-care is really key. And I found in my house, if I take a few minutes to do a self-massage in the morning, my whole house kind of looks at me and goes, what are you doing? I'm doing my self-care. And I'll add my essential oils in there. And I have a base oil. In the summer, I'll use coconut. In the winter, I'll use a sesame. I'll add whatever oils I need for the day. So for today, I used a vetiver to just kind of keep a calm balance in my coconut and did a self-massage. So checking in with my self-care is really important because that's going to come out in stress. It's going to start to come out with inflammation over time. Looking in to see if we have old injuries. A lot of us played sports or dance, or maybe we ran a marathon. Whatever it was that we've done, a lot of us have old injuries. And those can also have a recycling of inflammation. So checking in with those is always key. And then repetitive motion. I used to do massage for an Ayurvedic center, and you only worked on one side of the table. So you were always working the same direction all the time. And I left there going, why is the side over here the only one hurting?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. For those of you who have not yet had the pleasure of experiencing Ayurvedic body work, traditionally Ayurvedic massage is done with two therapists. It is a
Yes.
treatment. One
Yes.
therapist working on each side of the body, mirroring each other.
Yep.
And so there is
Yep.
the symmetry and balance that brings an additional balancing to the nervous system, which then allows for that downshifting of the parasympathetic nervous system to rest and repair. And that's what the whole branch of Rasayana is in Ayurvedic medicine. It is a branch of rejuvenation and repair, and how we work with these tissues, guys. Tools, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely.
We're getting back to our true nature, right? Again, we're back to our true nature because we're allowing the body to heal naturally and to get back into harmony. So that was one of the things I found was with repetitive motion. Somebody who's typing all day long, you're going to end up with the same type of shoulder girdle area. So these are areas that can cause inflammation. And of course, right now, we're living in a Vata space with everything that's going on in the environment, from new elections to COVID. Those are really pulling the Vata up, which can really bring the inflammation up. A lot of us our energies are off. We're out of balance with our natural elements. And so that's causing a lot of inflammation and a lot of stress. And again, inflammation and stress go hand in hand. So looking at just generally kind of checking in with yourself. And if you take a few minutes, you'll notice, you'll go, I'm really stressed because, and it's the first thing that comes to your mind. You know, that's why I put self-care for mine, because I know that if I don't watch, I roll into caretaker, but not self-caretaker. So, all right, we can go. So how I use oils, and I really wanted to make sure you had some really great ways to work with your oils. Obviously, we're using a lot of massage in our work. And so I'll do a lot with my clients and send them home with massage oils. And you don't always have to go to get a massage. I love going to the Indian market and getting mustard oil if I need a really good oil for any kind of inflammation or the stress, because stress really, really can work well with just a heated oil. And so mustard oil has a natural heating element to it. So you can apply that right to the area. But with massage, I typically will add the oils to a base. So a base, your essential oils, when you're using them, you always want to use a base oil when you're going to do a massage. So for me, I'll take, whether it be like this here is a lotion that I've done, but I'll take a base of a coconut oil, and this has coconut oil in it, and then add the essential oils to it, and then apply it to the body. Because essential oils, like we said before, are so strong that we really want to calm them down a little bit. And if you get a good quality essential oil, you only need a drop of essential oils. And the less essential oils you use, the better. You don't want to be pouring the whole bottle in. I've done that before. You can't take it out once you put it in. So less is better.
Yeah.
And of course, massaging the area. So if you're looking to heat the oils, you could do a mustard oil. If you need cooling, like this time of the year, we need a little cooling, you can use a coconut oil, and you add your essential oils in there. A roller bottle is also a really good one. And I love using roller bottles. I love them because you can apply it right to the area. And I personally, when there's stress, I'll take my roller bottle, put it into the wrist points, right along the back of the neck from the occiput down into the shoulders. Love doing that to help out. And the roller bottle is so easy. You put
you can travel with it easy, apply
the
it straight
best.
away, no spills. Yeah.
Yes, yes. They're also great. Again, you use your roller bottle for lavender at night. We have our youngest has some issues with sleeping and ADD, and so use the roller bottle with lavender. Put it on the bottom of the feet at night. My daughter has a job that's very high stress, and again, same thing. She uses essential oil with lavender and vanilla on the bottom of her feet. They're obsessed with it, calms the body. It's very relaxing. You know, my partner, he's all about frankincense. But again, in the roller bottles. So putting those on the bottom of the feet. Another one I love, and we're actually going on a car trip, and this is one of the ones I use when I go, is a spritzer bottle, because you can change your whole environment. And so I absolutely love them. And they go quick. So for us, we're traveling, we obviously aren't going to carry a diffuser everywhere we're going. And the people we're with may not enjoy it as much as we will.
Right.
Smell is very personal, right? So we want to make sure we're cautious of those smells for other people. So a spritzer bottle is wonderful. I'll use a wild orange and maybe like a rosemary if I'm wanting to try to uplift and open the lungs. And I'll just spray it in the room, touch a witch hazel, and I'll use a nice distilled water because we want to keep them longer. And so we'll just spritz it, and there we are, nice and simple. It's great. My son plays basketball, and so there's nothing worse than the smell of somebody after they played basketball when they get into your car. So you're just like, that calms my stress.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Calm it down fast.
Yeah, I find it makes for great linen sprays.
Yes.
I'm traveling and I just need a little extra help with getting my sleep schedule back on routine, especially if I've traveled different time zones.
Yeah.
You know, to be able to have just literally a travel size. I have so many of these these in smaller
Yes.
bottles.
Yeah. And they're perfect.
Rose water, lavender water, different.
Rose water is wonderful.
Yeah.
It's so nice. It's such a nice one. Yeah, there we go. Oh, it really is. It's perfect, and it cools you down. But it also rose is also a good one for the heart chakra. So we're opening up that heart chakra and we're calming the system down. And it's that simple, right? So it's definitely a good one to go with. And then with baths. So obviously with the traveling, I won't be taking a lot of baths where I'm going to be, but when I come home, a bath is great. It's a really nice one for the end of your evening to really bring the stressors down. I like to take, I have a really nice one that I made myself. Um, and this one here, let's see if you can, you're not gonna, I'm sorry you can't smell, but, but this here,
Hold it really close.
yeah. Can you smell that? But what I did was I actually took rosemary, like the actual rosemary plant, and dropped it in with Epsom salts and put that in there with a little bit of Himalayan salt and then added some essential oils. And you open it up and it's like, oh, just the smell alone. And a few drops of rosemary essential oil to kind of lift it up and a little bit of eucalyptus. It'll wake you up, but it also opens the lungs, it opens the heart, and again, it opens up that whole sinus area, right? So I love doing that one because I find that with, of course, as I said earlier, breath is so important. We don't breathe very well. So if we're breathing really well, we're opening the lungs up. And that's going to help again with the inflammation and stress, and it's going to calm the whole system down.
Yeah.
And learning to breathe is really important. And so using those essential oils, sometimes that's what we need until we learn to really open up the lungs and breathe properly. You know, and you know a lot about that one from yoga. I'm not as good at it, but I'm learning.
And, you know, it goes beyond the gross tissues of the body with the lungs and the actual brachials that you are expanding and, you know, with your breath, but you're also clearing and supporting the pathways of prana, of life force energy. You are removing obstacles in the subtle body of the nadis, which are these pathways that carry prana and life force energy. And when you're able to direct the mind's attention, you're able to direct the flow of prana. And that's why the yogis use pranayama as one of the 8 limbs of the Ashtanga yoga system, right? In fact, it's the 4th one. It's the one right in the middle that connects the more earthly, gross yoga practices of asana, the physical postures, and the ethos and daily kind of habits of the yogi with the final 4
subtle,
of the subtle realm. Meditation and concentration and discipline and the tapas. Some of those practices.
And that's, you know, again, and you can use it when you're at the end of that meditation, you already have the essential oils on, you can always go right into a little nostril breathing. I know, I like that.
Just like
yes.
I did it when I was traveling in India, when I was some of the fish markets at Kochi in southern India.
Yes, because those are some smells.
Those are some serious smells of the fish market on a hot day. In South India. Well, olfactory senses. But even if I was just walking through Delhi, right, with the smog and, you know, the pollution in the air and such, and just the full-on assault of sensory information that the country of India is, right? That having a few drops of lavender oil on my scarf as I traveled really helped me. So as I felt like if I was being overwhelmed, I would simply just cover up with my scarf and do a few deep rounds of belly breathing.
And I'll tell you, my mom my mom's an herbalist, and she loves the essential oils. And so when she comes to my house, she looks through the box of all the oils, and she will put them on her pocket of her shirt. And she went shopping. This is a couple of months back, and all of a sudden she's like, I'm like, you can't do that. But she was very stressed and overwhelmed with this new arrow walking at the grocery store that she needed something to bring her down. And she immediately went right to the essential oils that were on her shirt and took a nice whiff of it. And she was just like, oh, this is wonderful. And she's a patchouli. That's her smell. And it brought her right down, and it really brought her back down to her grounding and her earthing. And that's what she needed. And it brought her out of that stress because as we know, the grocery store is not like it used to be. So that for her is very stressful. So just having it right there.
Whether it's a scarf, I don't recommend putting oil of any kind onto your clothing because
Yes,
it will
it
stain
can
your
it can
clothes.
stain.
Also, I would say too that in this time, I've been starting to put a few drops of essential oil into my mask. I will
Yes.
I'll allow the mask to ventilate and dry and evaporate
Mm-hmm.
drops. And I'm talking literally, guys, one drop.
One, yes. And
One
like I said earlier,
in
less
the
is
mask.
better.
Yeah.
Less is better. You
Less is
can't take it
better.
out once you put it in.
Exactly. And I
Yes.
put that one drop on my finger pad. I rub it with
Mm-hmm.
my thumb, and then I just kind of blot the inside of my mask
Yes.
until the oil's off of my fingers, and I'll let
Yep.
the mask ventilate open for a good 10 minutes before I'll wear it throughout the day.
Yep.
Don't want to be completely overdosing ourselves.
Right.
Binging
Right.
downstairs, right? So
Yes.
for now we're at the end of summer, so from an Ayurvedic perspective, we're finishing with fire season.
Yep.
The
Yep.
notion
Yep. So,
of
the heat. Yeah.
cooling, tri-doshic and balancing
Mm-hmm.
oils like peppermint, like rose, like lavender, like lang lang, like
Yep.
sandalwood. These
Yeah.
are
And
all
thyme is another one to add in.
time.
Thyme is really good. And it's also really good for the whole respiratory system. And sage, I think I would drop in there too. Because sage has a very, even though it has some heat to it, it also has a cooling. So it's cool and warming. So this time of the year when we're dealing with the change part, where we're going from the hot heat pitta
Yeah.
to Vata is going to be right around the corner with that wind and the damp, and our elements are changing. And so I find sage is one of mine,
Yeah.
for that cool warmth, right?
Absolutely.
So, but and then that brings you right down to the room diffuser. Um, I love using a room diffuser. When I work with my clients, we typically will put together a couple essential oils, depending on, and I'll show you that when we get into that. But depending on where they're at, why they're stressed, and why the inflammation's coming in, and do we need to ground in the body or do we need to uplift? And we pick our oils accordingly and go from there. So we'll go ahead and go to the next one. So this one, I really did a bunch of blends for everybody. And what I did was I used doTERRA oils, so that we're kind of out there real fast. And for me, I use them because I've done some research on them. But I truly believe people need to do the research and find the oil company that works best for them. Because there's about a handful of them that are organic, that are using good quality when they're working, and you want to be able to know the source. That's really important. And so I have 3 of them that I'll work with that I've looked up and done some research, but I brought the doTERRA today, and so I put a few blends in here. But that's just a kind of a quick disclaimer. But definitely do your research, because you'll find there are different ones that work for you in different companies. But look into what oils you're using. And I say this all the time, pay the extra money to get a higher quality and use less oil. Then be cautious if you're using one that you've bought at a no-name grocery store. If you go to Walmart and you find one that's $2, it's not going to be a pure essential oil. So pay a little extra and get one that's a pure essential oil than one that's going to be diluted, because it's shown that we're not sure what they're diluting them with. So that's always something I worry about. And one of the other things I do when I start to look at essential oils and how I'm working with clients, you'll see that beside the essential oil names, you'll see a V, a K, and a P. Mm-hmm. And those are to represent the doshas. And for Ayurveda, we deal with Vata, Pitta, Kapha. I actually don't as much with my clients. I think we were talking about that earlier. I look at the element side of it, and I really get into water element or earth element or air element. Each one of these doshas, the Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, have those elements in them. So what I've done here is to give you a little idea of if you have maybe a lot of air or a lot of fire, like if you look at my cheeks, they're red. I have a lot of fire. It comes up and it settles right in those cheeks every day. It's a really great one for helping clients understand heat and fire, right? But I have a lot of air also, very light build, and I'm constant go, go, go. So this is your air element. And people who have a little more of that kapha in them usually have that more grounding, and they have a lot more stability. So when you start to look at what oils work for you, you start to look at these different variables. I find it very interesting in my house because I have my oldest is all kapha, which means he's totally solid, totally grounded. He would probably never move if he didn't have to, and so he has total earth and water element. So when you look at these essential oils, I start to look and go, which one has that letter K for kapha and has the plus sign beside it? Because I want to really get him moving and get him motivated, right? So I want to get the kapha decreased a little bit and bring the other elements up. I think I reversed it at the beginning. So, and then my daughter is more of your Vata type, which would be the letter V represented. And so she has a lot of air and ether. And those elements are very quick and they have a lot of space, but they have a tendency to be up here. Thankfully, she has a tremendous amount of pitta also, which keeps her very, very direction. And the pitta has that fire. So we start to look at essential oils that will heat or cool. And that's how I work with mine. Because I find that for me, you don't want to put a lot, you wouldn't put cayenne on me. There would be no reason. Because there's enough fire in the body that I would not pick a cayenne pepper, right? I probably wouldn't use cinnamon either because there's enough heat. Whereas for me, I would go with bergamot is a nice calming oil. It's going to bring some of the vata down for me. And then I would also go with the sage, which has enough cooling. And it's going to calm that down just a little bit and cool things off. And it definitely brings in a little bit of a balance for the two, right? So those will help kind of represent a little bit as you start to look at how I need to pick out my oils for inflammation. And the other thing that I really work with is what we're aiming for. So like bergamot, I love bergamot. It has a little bit of a citrus to it. It's really nice for if your stress is coming in because of anxiety. So I work with a lot of college students, and this I've found bergamot is going to be the #1 oil this year because college students, like a lot of us, there's a lot of uncertainty. Are you going to school or are you not going to school? Taking class from home, not taking class from home. So there's a lot of anxiety coming up lately with that age group, and it's giving them a lot of stress. So bergamot is now our go-to for the spritzers. And what we're finding is helping because it has that citrus. It's uplifting, but it's one we lean to. So it's a great one for that. And kind of playing with your oils to figure out which one. And like I said, I kind of went through for you so that, you know, if you're dealing with maybe needing a little bit more of the positive, maybe your stress is coming in because you are having a harder time and you're having that little bit of depression, that's where we start to jump on using some of those other oils. Clove is a really good one. It's great for strengthening the system. Yes, yeah, and
great oil. Yeah.
It really is. And I would toss cardamom on with that one because those are really good ones for strengthening and really helping with the muscular system because the oils penetrate in. And as we know, if you're going to put them onto the body, always add your essential oils to a carrier. But you're gonna absorb 60 to 80% of what you put on the body. So you're putting clove, and that's going to be working on calming those muscles, but also strengthening the system. So it's a really nice one to have in there. And cardamom is very similar with some of its constituents. So I find that one to be one I really like. Um, so in lavender, you can jump into a lavender. It cools, and I like to, and we'll see in the next slide, I like to go from one side to the other. I like to have one element that's cooling, but maybe one that's calming, or one that's going to uplift. I don't typically use just one essential oil. Nope, you can go ahead. Because we'll get right into how I put them together so that when you're sitting at home, what I find with a lot of my clients is, especially now with essential oils being so big and you can find them everywhere. And I say explore, enjoy them, really find a couple, kind of like what you've done. Find the few that really, really relate to you. If you can find a place that lets you smell them ahead of time, because you'll see they give you an emotional release. Memories are so connected also. So this is something I find when I work with clients who have an old injury. I have a client that was in a car accident, and she's wonderful that she had brought up the fact that when we work with her, when we add the essential oils in, it brought her right back to that accident. And she was able to bring that memory back up. And we worked with some of the muscle areas that she was having some issues with, and it really helped her to kind of let go of some of that stress that she was carrying. But it was the smell that brought it up. So it's something to be very aware of when you use your essential oils, and that's why they're so personal, right? So this is kind of how I work when I look at my oils when I'm going to work on an area. So what is my goal when I'm going to work with somebody? So if you came in and you said, you know, my neck is getting me right in here, and I'm feeling a lot of stress and tension. And this seems to be a go-to here, or the low back, right? We see a lot of that. Um, I work with a company, and they're truck drivers. And so I see a lot of low back. Um, so I go, okay, there's a repetitive issue there. And then also we're sitting, right? So how are we going to work with that? So I try to pick something that's going to complement, but also stimulate, and then work with the area. And that's how I work with herbs. So when I work with my herbal side, that's how we create blends when we do herbs. So I use the same thing when I do my essential oils. The same way I work with my herbal teas, I blend my essential oils the same way. So I put together a nice little chart here for you, because what I would do is I would say, okay, my goal is to work on inflammation. All right. And if you're coming in and you're saying this area here hurts, the low back hurts, I may check in and see how your digestion is if it's a low back issue. If it's the neck area, I might ask you what your movement is. If you're working typewriter all the time, you're typing away, you're going to have some issues in here. So we start to say, okay, what side are we going with? The stress over on the other side, we start to look at lifestyle and going from there. I kind of separate the oils out a little bit on the inflammation side. I put all the heating oils together. Ginger's a wonderful heating oil, black pepper, cinnamon, all of those will heat, right? Eucalyptus is back and forth. It can cool because it opens up the airway, but it also has a heating element to it. So it actually is going to play on both sides. So what you put in the middle to complement it is what you're going to get the answer for. So if I was using a eucalyptus for somebody who came in and said they needed to open up the airway but needed to calm, I would go with the eucalyptus to open it up, but then I would use something where it be a vetiver or a lavender to bring it down a little bit and ground it.
And do
All
you
right.
mix it together or apply one and then the other?
I'm sorry?
Would you mix the two together or apply?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I would mix them together. And you also, when you're mixing them together, you start to know which oils are stronger. So some of yours, if you take a smell of something, eucalyptus and peppermint are a great example. I use eucalyptus on my face cradles for my clients. I ask them ahead of time, and I'll put it on the inside of their face cradle. So it's not touching the face, but it's in that airway. Because we all know when we lay face down, what happens? All the sinuses drain, and we wake up with that congestion. So a little bit of eucalyptus. but those are very powerful, very strong essential oils. You smell them like that. They stay for a while. Whereas lavender or even bergamot, they have a lighter smell. Their smell doesn't stay as long. So when you're thinking about putting those oils together, you'll only need maybe 2 drops of the stronger oil. So peppermint, eucalyptus, ginger's a lighter one, so you need a lot more on the ginger side. So you start to say, which one can I smell the most of? And you really put a little bit in. And the ones that have a smell that kind of dissipates faster, those you put a little bit more in. So you play around with that side of it too. The other key thing with your essential oils is when you add them in, the smell gets a little bit stronger when they sit. So if you blend these up and you set it aside and you go back and use it a little bit later, the smells can sometimes be a little bit stronger. So if you've opened that bottle, let's just say you're working with a spritzer for your room, and you've added 15 drops of eucalyptus and 2 of orange, you're going to smell that eucalyptus. So always add a little bit less, and you can always add more as you go. Okay. But yeah, I typically will add mine together. I typically suggest with my clients to use it as a very small bottle and only a little bit at a time. So that way we're not really getting ourselves on an overabundance of eucalyptus. So, you know, but yeah.
How would you know? Well, first of all, what would be the average shelf life of an essential oil, and how do you know if it's gone bad?
So essential oils, so if you have if this is where your high quality, low quality, blended or not blended come in. So when you're at the store, when you get your essential oils, you want to look at them, and if it says pure grade, you're getting a pure oil. If it says blended, you have the blended oils are going to be the ones that will go bad. Okay, so if you've ever smelled oil when it goes rancid, it has a smell, and when you open it, it almost smells like alcohol. It gives a smell of an alcohol type of yes. And so if you have that bottle and you open it up and you go, no. I had that when I first came back after we were closed. I went through and got rid of all my oils from before because I was like,
bad. I was like, well,
too long. Yeah.
For 4 months,
Exactly. I was like, you're out of here. So essential oils that are pure grade should not go bad because they don't have anything else added to them.
Okay, so
if you buy a blend,
oil distilled with no
additives. Yes, and the distillation process is taking out all those additives. So if you buy one, and I buy blends, ones that are blended with coconut oil sometimes, or some that are blended with other oils, and they're wonderful. But you know that the shelf life is going to be shorter because what's going to go bad is your water, because there's nothing can hold the water, right? And then your oils will go rancid. So those are when you go, no. It's the same thing with like this one here. This is a magnesium. Love it. Love magnesium. But but this one here is a magnesium lotion, and it has essential oils in it. So I know it has a very limited shelf life because I've added coconut oil into it. And so that's one of the things you have to know. I typically, anything when I add it into another oil, 6 months done. And I have in my office, you'll see clear plastic bottles that I'll date them. And I don't add the essential oils in plastic bottles, but I'll add like my witch hazel and distilled water. And then I'll pour it into a glass when I'm going to add an essential oil. And then I have my dates and I'm ready to go. And so I'm always marking things with, I'm a permanent marker person, but I have those dates on the side. I've gotten to the freezer tape, but having a date is really key because you want to either use them or get rid of them. Those are your options. And it's important to make sure that you don't use them once they get rancid because they don't have the medicinal purposes once they get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No more than like for a pure essential oil, depending how you store it out of direct light and
Yeah. And you want, like, you see how like the roller bottle I have here, you want to have a colored glass.
Yes.
And I will make one note on glass, especially when it comes to oranges, any citruses, you never put citrus in plastic. You always want it to be in glass because citrus oils will eat through plastic. And you don't want that, even if you're just putting it on the body, spritzing in the house, just it is a simple precaution, just avoid it. So not adding essential oils to plastic is really important. Yeah, yeah.
I'm rid of the plastic, guys. Like,
Yeah, I'm not a plastic
you
person
know?
either. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, all of my, when I blend things for clients, whether it be, like I said, I have the magnesium lotion, everything goes in glass, and most of them, except for that bath salt, I did that for me. That one's in a clear glass, but everything else, I put everything in a colored glass. And there's so many options now. You can get brown, you can get blue, they even have rainbow colors.
Absolutely.
Live it up with those colored glasses.
And if you've got a dark cabinet, you can use clear glass.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
store it out of
Yes.
direct light in a dry, cool space.
Yep.
And with a tight seal, because they are volatile.
Yes.
They will evaporate if you
Yep.
don't screw the cap on.
Yeah. Oh, I have done that with Mirth. When I went back to get the Mirth, and I'm like, it's solid now.
No!
Yeah. I was like, I was crying. I was like, no, not Mirth, please.
Yeah, absolutely. And depending on the plant and how much material
Yes.
necessary to
Yes.
make it, you
Yep.
might pay $35, $50 for a 5 or 3 milliliter.
Yeah.
essential
Yeah, and your resins, really, you have to be cautious with resins, that you really keep those. So like frankincense is made from a resin.
Mhm.
Any pine is made from a resin, and myrrh is a resin. So you want to make sure your bottles are really tight, because resins need to have a liquid when they're doing those. So they're taking like a sap, and you look at your tree saps, that's kind of your thing on that one. So resin is like a sap, and they're taking those and they're extracting from that. Well, it becomes solid when it dries.
Right.
So making sure those are sealed properly is you're gonna be so happy. So when you go to open your Mirth, you won't be like me and cry in the corner. Oh.
I mean, these properties of these plant medicines
Mm,
are going far beyond the calming effects of the mind and the
absolutely.
that
Absolutely.
plants have properties that are antifungal,
Yeah.
antiviral, antibacterial,
Mm-hmm.
antispasmodic,
Mm-hmm.
diuretic. We have all kinds
Yes.
of these.
Yes. That's a whole other one.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's another webinar, but
Yeah, because I mean, I use them for the belly with castor oil, and I'll roll them onto the belly, and that's for digestion, and it changes the world.
it'll
But
change the world for
it
sure.
changes my world.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
everybody's body chemistry is different.
absolutely.
They're, powerful substances. So you want
Yep.
to be working with an experienced practitioner to know how to
Yeah.
apply them to your skin if you are using them in that manner
Yep.
versus a
Yep.
bath or a diffuser, some of the other means
Yep.
we talked about today.
Yeah.
Sourcing is always going to be important in any product you buy
Yeah.
nowadays. I mean, you should
Yeah.
already be doing that, guys, anyway. And when you do the research, what research you're looking for is that company openly communicative
Yes.
about
Are they transparent?
it? Are they
You know?
transparent?
Yeah.
Where do the plants grow? Are the
Mhm.
plants replanted in a sustainable and
Mhm.
responsible agricultural
Yep.
method?
Yep.
And understanding that as complementary medicine and systems like Ayurveda become more recognized, more popular in the world, the demand for these plants will also rise. We already
Absolutely.
have an endangered amount of sandalwood.
Oh yeah.
We have endangered amounts of other plants out there.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
so really making sure that when you do invest, if you invest with essential oils, that you are
Mhm.
getting them from responsible vendors
Yes.
that are preferably pure and
Mhm.
have a therapeutic grade value to them.
Yes. You definitely want the therapeutic grade. And the other thing is that when you start to research, you'll see the essential oil companies that are up to par. They are transparent. They'll tell you where they source from. A lot of them are now. Some of the companies are putting the what are they? The QR on the bottles, so you can code them immediately and see where they're sourced. And I know that there's a couple of them that are doing that now, so you can immediately know where they're being sourced. And that to me is a really good sign because they're telling you transparency. And there are, like I said, there is a good handful of them out there. But you have to look them up. You have to make sure that they're answering the questions you need. Big companies right now, one is sourcing out and one is sourcing in-house. So, do you want a company that's going out and getting it from where it naturally grows, or do you want it where it's growing in a greenhouse setting? And so these are questions you have to ask yourself when you start to pick your oils. And again, are they all being transparent?
Yeah, I would also add to that the bigger the company, the more suspicious you should be. Because if they're producing large volumes, if you go to an essential oil manufacturer and they give you like a shopping manual like this or a catalog that you can select like this, I'd be very wary about the methodology in harvesting and replacing these plants. Methodology used to extract those essential components that make them so valuable. Because oftentimes the methods of extracting the oils in the effort to expedite the process denature and destroy the properties that make them medicine, and then you are left with only something that smells nice,
right?
Label that might say that it's therapeutic for you, but
well, you won't get the constituents that the plant actually is. So when you take it that way, so, and that's key, is taking the full and getting those full constituents, not a piece of the constituent.
That's right. It's like whole foods. You don't eat foods that are not it's funny, I went this was now a few years ago, had brunch with a friend, and she was asking me what I thought about her newly purchased I don't even know what it was made from.
Oh no.
It was like a dairy alternative cream cheese.
Oh.
And I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was made out of. And I don't even eat cream cheese for that reason. As a kappa dominant person, cream cheese is like not something that needs to be in my diet. Heavy, and that's just more mucus territory.
I know.
Can't do it. Won't do it. But she's, well, what do you think about this? Do you think it's good? Should I keep buying this? And I was like,
and you're like, oh.
I was like, just go for the cream cheese. Really, like go for the real fat, the whole plant as it was intended, as nature produced it, and focus on your digestive strength and capacity to break it down. And if you don't have it, you don't eat it until you do.
Exactly.
And that is what in part causes the chronic inflammation and the pain that we see in our joints, in our muscles, in our gut, in our liver, in our brain.
Oh,
really,
I didn't even want to get into the food side of what.
Because these are huge conversations.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
All essential oils are a tool for you, and just like anything else, need to be used wisely with patience and practice and a good teacher or guide to keep it safe.
And like I said, less is better. Less. You really don't need a lot. You just need a little, and it does so much with just smelling.
Just a little bit. That's all you need, folks, is just a little love, a little oil. If those of you want to learn more about essential oils or work with Heather and find out how she uses them and how they might work for you, reach out to her at mettawellness.com, and she'd be happy to get back in touch with you and let you know what she could do for you.
Yep.
So thank
Yeah.
you so much, Heather, for
Oh, thank
sharing your
you. It
thoughts.
was it was a blessing to be able to come and join you today.
I
Thank
know,
you.
absolutely, absolutely. Be
Oh,
well and namaste.
you ah
Great.